December 6th, 2021. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And can we place a flag so we could do the flag salute, please? There it is. If you could please stand, place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting of December 6, 2021. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time now is 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to the provisions of the Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision E, and the recommendation of the Ventura County Health Officer issued September 21st, 2021, following social distancing recommendations and determination by the City Council on October 4th, 2021. The public was informed in advance of this meeting how to submit all public comments to our city clerk, and all submissions will be read into and part of the official meeting record. Live public participation is accessed through the meeting Zoom link published on the agenda, and we highly encourage and welcome the community's participation. Those attending will have multiple opportunities throughout the meeting to provide public comments. If you wish to provide a public comment, please use the hand raise option that's a part of the Zoom format. Madam Clerk, may we take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Martinez?
Present.
Councilmember Perez?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rollins?
Here.
And Mayor Gomez.
I am over here. Thank you. Next on the agenda is inspiration, and tonight is my night for inspiration. I'm going to pull up my inspiration here. It's not coming up. Try this one. Maybe Curtis could come over. Okay. Share screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Okay.
I just see you.
What shall I do? Click over here.
So which one's the inspiration?
This one, yeah. Good. Okay. Now I bet you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
See it now? Thank you.
Yes.
Start from the beginning. Okay, thank you all. One of the most enjoyable part for me of being on the city council is being to do inspiration, and tonight I think it's probably my 10th, perhaps 11th, and the very first time I did inspiration, we recognized Daisy Tatum's contribution to education, and she was a assistant principal at Hueneme High School. And so anyways, tonight I want to talk about Hueneme Viking football as being inspirational. When I was a student attending Rio Mesa High School, I had a lifelong friend who attended Hueneme High School. This was back in 1981. He was a valedictorian. We were always hanging out with each other, and I say this not to embarrass anybody from back then, but I knew that Hueneme High School didn't have all the bells and whistles that Rio Mesa had, or at least it just felt different. And my good friend always would make comments to that effect, and it was something that we were very aware of. So this past summer, a parent came to me at Hueneme Beach cleanup and indicated or asked me if I would come to an award ceremony for the Hueneme High School football team. As we all know, COVID minimized last year's season, and the kids struggled emotionally due to the effect on their high school experience. But nonetheless, their accomplishment of being league champion last year meant a lot to them, and they deserved recognition. So I attended their Saturday celebration at Hueneme High School. I met Coach Mack and Coach Frazier and all the other coaches. There were many parents there, probably more parents than students, which I found very, very cool. The students were all very respectful and many introduced themselves to me and shook my hand. I was so impressed with their professionalism and their demonstrated respect, not only to their parents, but to their coaches. When it came time to close the celebration, they were all very enthusiastic to help clean up. And for me, there's nothing more enjoyable than to be in the presence of young, respectful men and women, and it fills your heart with great anticipation for what these kids will achieve in their future lives. So I made it a point to follow Vikings through their season. And I was able to attend a few games and supported them by attending a fundraiser event at the Eagles. And again, I was very impressed with the way they handled themselves, very respectful and very engaging of all the adults there at the fundraising. After all, it was for their benefit. At the first game, I noticed a wide receiver, number 13. And then a little later in the game, I realized she was a female named Jocelyn Contreras. At their homecoming game, Jocelyn had nearly 100 yards receiving and nearly scored a touchdown after a 25-yard run to the 1-yard line. She ended up throwing a touchdown pass. Then at halftime, she was the homecoming queen. In all my years of being around high school football, this by far was the most amazing night I've ever witnessed, and the stadium was packed from corner to corner, and it was the opening of their refurbished brand new stadium. They had fireworks. I mean, the atmosphere was very festive, and it was very fun to be there. So the motto at Hueneme football is family first. And the example of Coach Mack this past year has forever burned the concept of family first into the minds of all who know him. You see his dedication as much, you saw how dedicated he was to the care of his mother. He became a part-time coach, and he would dash home at lunch to be with his mom and help her with lunch. He entrusted his assistant coaches to step up and keep the enthusiasm and work ethic while attending to the needs of his mother. I can only imagine how respectful his players were to him during this trying time. In my imagination, I saw an amazing display of respect for him, much the same way they have shown me, the Viking team. It starts at the top and it pays its forward through their lives. Coach Mack's mother passed away recently, and his gift of his time to his mother is priceless, and he lived family first, and all his teammates were able to witness this. And so with that, I have 3 inspiration certificates. And the first one goes to Jocelyn Contreras, and it reads like this. The city of Port Hueneme hereby recognizes you as an inspirational leader for both girls and boys. You have demonstrated through your hard work and determination that girls can play varsity tackle football. You earned your spot on the team and proved to be a valuable member of it while obtaining the league championship. You became the first homecoming queen to throw a touchdown pass in California. We encourage you to continue to pursue your dreams. And yes, she was the homecoming queen at their homecoming. It was quite an amazing night. And so she made history that night, and I was so pleased to be able to there to witness it. The second certificate of inspiration is to the Hueneme High School football team and their head coach, Ryan Frazier. The city of Port Hueneme hereby recognizes Hueneme High School football team as an inspiration. Because of your hard work and dedication, your team for the 2nd year in a row, 7th time in 63 years, are the Coastal League champion. We commend your sportsmanship and your dedication to your education. You serve as an inspiration to the younger members of your community, and for that, we are truly grateful. And my third certificate of inspiration goes to Coach John Mack. The city of Port Hueneme hereby recognizes you as an inspirational leader in our community. Your dedication to your students, team members, and most importantly, your family during last year serves as an inspiration to all. Your enthusiasm for success at Hueneme High School is contagious and is making our community better. Your students are better prepared for life challenges because of the example you have shown. Thank you for being an inspiration to the youth of our community. And I just feel so enthusiastic about what's going on over there at Hueneme High School. And I didn't click through my PowerPoint, but this is Jocelyn Contreras. And this is her with her crown the night of homecoming. And this is the Hueneme High School football team. They've had for the second year in a row, league champions, and this is the 7th time in the last 63 years that they've been league champions. So that's truly an inspiration. And then Coach Mack, and I think this quote, I got this quote out of a newspaper that says here, I think there's 30 to 40 more players that are walking the halls that aren't even playing football yet, that don't understand what they can achieve. So I think that kind of sums it all up. We, over the years and from early on, knew that Hueneme always had the best freshman football team in the county. They would beat just about everybody, but unfortunately, a lot of those outstanding freshman players would get into trouble and wouldn't materialize at the varsity level. So I think Coach Mack is an amazing coach. He's bringing winning attitude, respectful, and I couldn't be happier for Hueneme High School and the players therein. So that concludes my inspiration. I see there's a lot of people here. I don't know if there's anybody. I see Pablo, the athletic director from Oxnard Union High School District. If anybody would like to say anything, that'd be great. But I just would like to conclude by encouraging continued success at Hueneme High School.
I would like to thank you for the recognition. This is John Mack. I'm having some technical difficulties to turn my camera on, but the kids did a terrific job over the past 2 years. I'm so proud of the players, and then the coaches were unbelievable. And the step forward this year and really took a lot of pressure off and made it easy for me to commit to my family. And I want to thank our principal, Adrian Ayala, our athletic director, Pablo Gallegos. Their support is incredible. You are right. There is something special happening at Hueneme High School. And I know that the future of the football program is in good hands, and we're very excited about the direction things are going.
Yes, thank you so much. And on behalf of the entire city council, I'd like to express our condolences to the loss of your mother too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we appreciate you very much being a part of our community. And man, that was good time to see that new stadium come to life on homecoming.
That was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was wonderful. And we're really, like I said, we're really excited for the future of Hueneme and the kids of our community.
And I'd like to add your recognition of Jocelyn is amazing. She is not a female football player. She's a football player. And everything she achieved was because she worked hard. She showed up to morning weightlifting just like everyone else. She watched film just like everyone else. And she was not a starter because she was a girl. She was a starter because she was one of our best 11 players. And very, very pleased to have coached her. Very, very proud of her contribution. I think she's on. I'm hoping she's on. And
if Jocelyn, if you're there, we'd love to hear from you. I understand you're an excellent student, and being the first homecoming queen to throw a touchdown pass is amazing.
And she may be at basketball practice. She's one of the top basketball players in the league also.
Okay.
Just getting out right now.
Awesome. Anyone else before we move on? But again, we love what you're doing. We love the fact that you're dedicated to the youth of our community, and we strongly appreciate and encourage you to keep winning.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We are now going to move on to general public comments. Do we have any general public comments, Madam Clerk?
Sir, I received no written public comments. However, this would be the appropriate time for any members of the public attending live to submit their public comments.
Okay, I do see Cynthia Ross. Her hand is raised, and I will recognize you for 3 minutes. Unmute yourself and.
Stephen, we still see your screen, or I still see your presentation.
Okay. Now you don't see it?
No, we're good.
I think now we're good.
We're good?
We're
Okay,
good.
Cynthia Ross.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to come to the meeting tonight and to thank you for attending our event for SoCal Families for Safe Streets. It was, I'm going to read what I wrote because I'm kind of stuttering. So it says, hello, this is Cynthia Ross, and I would like to thank both Mayor Gamma and Mayor Rollins for attending our event with SoCal Families for Safe Streets. Your presence made our event truly special. And I look forward to working with you to make our streets in Port Hueneme safe for everyone. The neighbors here on Bulker will still be pushing for speed bumps and have gathered more signatures. We are also demanding that other safety measures be taken in regards to the increased traffic from the dispensaries on Channel Islands Boulevard. We have, we talked at something about 30,000 vehicles a month are now added to our traffic on Channel Islands, which is a lot. And okay, and the neighbors and we've talked also with the neighbors from Hueneme Bay. So they're kind of joined our cause, but they're fighting more for, they would like to have I have to go back to this, I'm stuttering again. That many of the community at Hueneme Bay are truly afraid to exit their community onto Channel Islands Boulevard and have been for years asking for a signal to be installed at Lido. I believe that would solve many problems. We also need, as for the Bulker and Channel Islands, we think that a keep clear area right there because it's too close to the signal at Patterson. So I think if there was some sort of a keep clear, so people aren't weaving in and out. Also, if there could be a no U-turn there, because what happens is people will use that to make that area to make a U-turn, and that adds to more traffic right there. So that, along with what we would like is, and would really help, would be to reduce the speed on Channel Islands to 35 miles an hour. And our reason for that is that 35 really means 45 miles an hour is what people will be driving. Whereas now at 45, it's really 55 that people are driving. So if we reduce the speed to 35 miles an hour, I believe not only will it make our streets safer, but it will make people slow down and enjoy Hueneme. And instead of just using us to speed to harbor or to their dispensaries, they'll be forced to slow down and look around them, look for, things they like, shops, anything like that, pedestrians, bicyclists. But
You're just about at the 3-minute mark.
Okay, yeah, and I'm kind of rambling too. So anyway, I again just want to thank you for attending our event and thank everybody who works at Hueneme, City of Hueneme. And that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I can see every participant. Are there any other hands raised? I see a thumbs up. That's not a hand raised. Okay, Lisa Fitzgerald.
Actually, it's Robert that wants to speak.
Hello.
Hello, Robert.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you for having the meeting. I live in Hueneme Bay, and I am 100% in agreement with Cynthia Ross. It is very dangerous out there, and the speeding is just out of control over at Lido and Channel Islands. It's amazing how bad it is. You when you go to cross that to come in, you're literally a lot of times have to floor it to get across. And if you're not watching all angles, because there's a bike lane there, I watched somebody bike speeding through there. We got to remember, everybody in Hueneme Bay, a lot of them are older residents, so they don't have the full spectrum of view. So I watched this lady almost hit a bicyclist because there's just too much going on, and she's trying to watch out for traffic. And it's really bad. It's really bad. And so moving on from there real quick, I understand it was in the paper regarding the port opening up in Hueneme Bay, or Port Hueneme, to container ships, to be like Long Beach, and to have more container ships coming in. That's great. I think that's great. It'll help alleviate Long Beach, give some of the pressure off of them. The one thing I am concerned about, however, is the traffic. Right now, we have trucks going down Channel Islands Boulevard with the car carriers with the new cars. And it's my understanding they're not supposed to be doing that, but they're doing it anyway. So with new container ships coming in and more traffic and more trucks, how are you going to alleviate all this traffic and congestion with the extra trucks? And they're big trucks, they're 18-wheelers, and that's going to also show wear and tear on our road. So food for thought, I guess.
Thank you. I now see Lawrence and Van with their hand up. Do you desire to make a public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly agree with the traffic on Hueneme. Neither of us, we're new to Port Hueneme. We love it. We just moved from Long Beach. More on that in another minute. I am as far from a timid driver as you can get. Please don't look for me out there giving tickets. But I don't like to cross Hueneme during rush hour, which is Channel Islands Boulevard. That's how new we are. From Lido, crossing Channel Islands during rush hour. That's, I don't know exactly when that is, but it's like between 4 and 5 o'clock. And it's very dense. And then especially when we cross headed south and then want to go east, it's hard to see the oncoming traffic. And I don't have a low vehicle. I don't have a pickup truck or anything, but even in my Honda Odyssey, it's hard to see the oncoming vehicles when they're coming that fast. And it really does require flooring it to be anything close to safe, given the visual range. So I'd love a signal there. The thing about the port, we just left Long Beach. It took Long Beach over a decade to clean up the port, to clean up the trucks coming to the port. I'm horrified, absolutely horrified by container ships coming into Port Hueneme just after we move here. No. A single container ship, a single large container ship has 8,500 trucks to empty it.
We just went to
a lecture on what's happening at the ports in Long Beach, and it was given by the head of the Marine Exchange and officials from the ports of Long Beach and LA. And it's no joke. There's a lot of trucks, and the amount of soot from trucks, idling, the amount of just soot and junk from a ship on diesel power instead of shore power. Long Beach has now added shore power to all the terminals, so ships can turn off their diesels and plug in. I don't think Hueneme has that. And the difference in air quality over the last 10 years is shocking. And we will go right back to square one. And one ship is a horrible amount of pollution. It's not trivial. It's really not trivial. And then 8,000 trucks for a big ship is really not trivial. And another 1,000 train cars.
Lawrence,
the ships are much bigger than most people comprehend.
Excuse me, Lawrence, you're just at the 3-minute mark. So can you please wrap it up?
Okay, that's it. I hope people take the air quality and the traffic quality into account, because those ships are huge. Thank you very much. We love it here.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to share some information with you that the ships in Port Hueneme do plug in, and the ships in Port Hueneme are much smaller than the ones on Long Beach. So
right, yeah.
Thank you. Are there any more hands raised? I don't know if I can see everybody on my screen. I don't hear anyone. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda approval. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
A second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May we have a roll call vote?
I'm sorry, my mic must not have picked up who made the first motion.
Was no motion. All motion to approve.
Okay. Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rollins,
Yes.
and Mayor Gama.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we are now going to move into State of the City report by yours truly. I'm gonna see if I can make this work on my own this time. And I believe I can. Slideshow beginning and do y'all see my screen?
No.
Okay.
Mayor, if you scroll over your Zoom screen at the bottom, there will be an icon that says share screen. Clicking on that, you'll have the option of pulling up different documents. You'll then double click on your presentation.
Right here. Okay, do you see it now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We're going to try and go really fast. I'm going to speak fast. So welcome to the state of our city. How do I advance this? Curtis. It's not advancing. Okay. First of all, I would like to acknowledge we lost 3 former mayors this past year. Former Mayor Jonathan Sharkey, Doug Breeze, and Ellis Green. Each and every one of these persons served our community very well. I just wanted to start off by mentioning their service to our city. And I hope they're all resting peacefully, and we're grateful for their service to the city of Port Hueneme. So financially, the city could be said to be very good to excellent. Our budget, total budget and related entities is $59.1 million. Past 3 years, we've had strong financial framework resulting in general fund growth. We are financially viable. The city demonstrated sound and prudent financial decisions, and also we behaved in accordance with our financial policies. Our general fund reserves have increased on an average of 8.5% over the last 3 years. In 2017, unassigned general fund balance was $10,537,000 and change, and that was determined to be insufficient for adequate reserves. In 2021, today, our unassigned general fund balance is $20,200,000, which is sufficient to cover our statutory reserves. Our unassigned and general fund balance and reserves are $35 million. And this is a $5.2 million increase since 2017. So the city financially is doing very well, and we hope to continue that into the future. I wanted to briefly go over our accomplishments for 2021. We had our Beach Festival, we had our master plan update, we had a Parks and Recreational master plan update. We have volleyball courts installed, and I'm told that the nets are soon to come, but the poles are installed, the nets aren't up, and they'll be coming soon. We had a very effective gopher relocation program for all our parks, and we could see the benefits of that. We had a realization that coral trees are hazardous in certain circumstances, and we're working to improve that situation. We've had movies in all our parks, and we're going to continue to do that. Beacon is our lobbyist, so to speak, for Hueneme Beach Nourishment, and we've made some progress there. We have a vibrant senior exercise program. Tomorrow, we're going to have our senior holiday luncheon. We didn't have it last year, but tomorrow is going to be a grand day to resurrect that. We had homeless engagement backpacks. Our police recommitted to their oath of office. We completed an IT master plan. We hired and staffed a mental health liaison officer. We have a vibrant sidewalk inspection program. We've improved our youth fields for youth recreation. Our city hall has been renovated. We have solar power. We have a charging station at City Hall, and we have an ADA accessible building, which is very, very good. We have street crosswalk improvement. We've established a Learn to Swim program with Oxnard Union High School District. Our junior lifeguard program is running strong and doing very well. We have lighting improvements, and we've become a pickleball destination. And we submitted a grant application for parks, which we're very, very optimistic that we could achieve that. We completed a sale of our property to Red Mule. Our street maintenance program is robust. We have a saying here, how do you know when you're in Oxnard, the road turns, how do you know if you're in Port Hueneme is when the road turns good. I'm sorry, I'm not a good stand-up comedian. Our street maintenance is doing very well, and we've committed and got through our community benefit fund and also our American Rescue Plan. We just completed that last week. Goals for next year, I just want a little disclaimer. I did not talk to all the council members and because that would be a Brown Act violation. So these, generally speaking, are the goals that I think that we should have. We need to continue to be fiscally conservative. We need to develop a funding plan for our 115 trust, which is a retiree unfunded pension liability. We need to identify new sources of revenue. We need to prepare for the reduction of cannabis revenues. We need to strive for continuous improvement in all that we do. We need to continue good relations with the port, city of Oxnard, Navy, and county. And we also want to be a leader in risk management. We need to be truly the friendly city by the sea. And we need to listen to our residents. We need to be proactive and responsive. And we need to obtain a federal budget increase for beach sustainability. So challenges ahead, beach replenishment is a continuous challenge for us. And I'll get into that a little bit later. Coral trees, we'll talk about that as well. Mental health is a big issue for us as a city. Youth engagement, we're really doing well in youth engagement, and we want to continue that. Law and order, it's a national issue, and it's definitely something that we need to be concerned about here. Economic development, affordable housing, what are we going to look like post-COVID pandemic, and continue with our parks improvement. So as you all know, Hueneme is a Chumash word, and it is a derivative responsible for the name Hueneme. It meant resting place and launching spot. So this is what it looked like prior to the port of Hueneme. This is like a big river of sand. And with the installation of the port of Hueneme, it cut off the natural flow of sand south. We've been aware of this for a very long time, and we successfully have organized all the interested players and have communicated to the Julia Brownlee's office the need to have increased funding so that we could keep up with the amount of sand that needs to be bypassed around the port of Hueneme in order to maintain our beach and sustain our beach. And this is what happened in 2012. This was a failure at many levels, but bottom line is we didn't obtain the funding that we needed to move the sand. And the sand is to me, it's kind of like like child support. Like the federal government signed on to be the responsible party to move the sand around the port of Hueneme so we would never face this situation. But in 2012, we ran into this situation, and you can see it was quite dramatic. And this was 100% preventable. And what we've learned is that the funding has not increased over the years. So the amount of sand being moved around the port of Hueneme is resulting in a diminishing and an unsustainable Hueneme beach. So this is what it looked like in 2012. I mean, this is quite a big difference of sand. So you can see that with missing one complete dredge cycle, the future looks pretty bleak for us. And we also know that further on down the stream of sand at the Point Mugu Naval Station, they're having problems because of a lack of sand. So over the last 30 years, we've accumulated a deficit of sand. So we took initiative to research the problem, and we delivered a letter to Julia Brownlee's office recently requesting increase in funding. So now I want to move on to a lot of people out there are noticing that coral trees are disappearing. But what we need the public to understand is that these trees have been here for 30, maybe even over 40 years. And as you can see right here, this tree failed one day and it fell and it was diseased in the middle. And this is a highly trafficked walking path, and we are so fortunate that nobody's been injured or seriously injured, or in fact maimed. This is another tree, again, same issue. This was in Surfside 4. This is the tree that recently buckled to its own water weight, and this tree was determined to be healthy and not diseased, but you can still see that it developed this problem. And again, it crashed down across a walking path. So this is what it looked like after they got it cleaned up. So the city is not just going around cutting down coral trees. We've engaged an arborist to determine the trees that pose the greatest risk to our community. And we've come up with a risk management plan to identify trees that are diseased so that we can remove them before they fail and cause injury to something. We've been so fortunate that nobody's been injured thus far. So we're using the services of an arborist to determine the trees that pose the greatest risk, but they can also fail just to the water weight. So it's something that we need to be very concerned about. And you can see that vehicles have been damaged as well. And so we need everyone to understand that we are a Tree City USA, and our policy is to, when we remove a tree, we need to plant a replacement tree. Our city hired a mental health liaison officer, and the mental health liaison officer works with community partners and agencies to provide long-term solutions for individuals whose mental health needs directly impact their contact with police. And we have seen such a great positive effect from the moment that our liaison officer came on board. And we're greatly appreciative for that. But we also learned that we need to communicate up. We need more services for these individuals. We need more help from the state and the county. And hopefully that as a body that we can learn to communicate and try to effectuate better policy at a higher level so that we can have more opportunities to help people that need help, because it's very difficult to help people when they don't want help. And I think we all know some of the bad things that can happen there. Earlier in the year, last year, we prepared backpacks and staffed them with a bunch of hygiene and items to help homeless and people that are in need. And we went out, and the police went out and delivered them to different individuals. At the same time, we've identified people that needed help and accepted services, but not everybody accepts services or help. And but when they do, the city of Port Hueneme is there ready to jump in and help where we can. We've had some unfortunate incidents in this city over the last year, and we had a fatal shooting. We had an axe attack at Port Hueneme Anacapa View Homes. We had a teen arrested for a shooting, which injured a pregnant mother and a young daughter. We had a woman in her 80s stabbed in a house invasion style burglary. And the unfortunate thing for me is I know 4 of these victims of this. And then we also witnessed, or didn't witness, but we saw Pedro Valdez. He was killed in a deliberate act by a person driving a vehicle. So these are troubling times, and I don't think that we're the only city in the nation suffering from an increase in violent crime, but in each and every one of these instances, our police have responded and behaved and reacted amazingly. And that's one of the things that's a constant here in the city of Port Hueneme. And I was able to witness Officer Perez command a situation that was getting out of control. And I got to tell you that it's absolutely, we are lucky to have the police department we have. They're committed to this community. They care about this community, and they do a lot more than what normal police departments do. Just wanted to point out that in this nation, there's 314 officers have been shot this year. 58 officers were killed by gunfire. And so for a moment, we should never think that our police aren't in a dangerous job. And we really support our police, and I'm really thankful for all the officers that we have in the city of Port Hueneme. And I think we all should be thankful that we have we continue to be a community that respects and loves their police. And I think our residents are behaving for the most part as well. I mean, we haven't seen any of this crash and burn, stealing of articles that we see in other cities. So for that, I'm very grateful. One of the greatest highlights of this year was our police department committed to retaking their oath of office. And I don't know of any other department anywhere that did that. And I think we were all there, and it was so heartwarming to witness that. And it really shows the commitment of our department, stepping up and recommitting to that oath of office. And we know it's a difficult job, and we know that sometimes we're in situations with people that may not appreciate them as much as they should be. So committing to treating all with dignity and respect was a highlight of this past year, and I was so glad to be a part of it. Also, we recognize our Officer of the Year, Ricardo Miranda. That was a great night. He's a very great officer. I've seen him in action. He's very nice, and we're, again, would like to congratulate him for being our Officer of the Year. Our police do a lot more than just policing. They shave their heads and they support good causes such as breast cancer awareness. And Andrew Salinas' hair grows back quicker than anyone's I've ever seen. And we forget about all the things that they do, and we're appreciative for that. Economic development in our city is frustrating for us city council persons. And these 4 pictures sum up our frustration. We got the Old Mary's Market, we got the hotel at Surfside and Hueneme Road, 2 photographs of them. And then we have the lot on the corner of Victoria and Channel Islands. And, we can't seem to get anything going on. And we wonder, how is it that these people that own these businesses or buildings or pieces of land, how is it that they're in business? So if anyone out there has an idea, can help us turn these into great functioning pieces of property for our city, please let us know, because speaking for myself, and I'm pretty sure the rest of our council, we're all frustrated because it kind of seems like we get played. And so we'll hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to figure this one out. Youth engagement, I am so proud to see the amount of youth engagement we have in this city. The Hueneme High School Band has been a part of our ceremonies. We hope to get them back. The Junior ROTC program from Hueneme High School, again, is a model program. Just this past weekend, I spent a couple hours with some students from Hueneme High School. We spent time cleaning out Bubbling Springs. So we want to continue our youth engagement, and any and all youth engagement is positive. It's great, and it's something that we need to focus on. Our junior lifeguard program and our lifeguard program is very strong. We continue to break records. I remember Jason saying it was the biggest junior lifeguard program this summer. We had a record number of people participating in both sessions. We've done some other unique things. I think we had a lifeguard training school, and we have a number of amazing people that work with us for many years, and we want to continue to be lifeguard strong in the city of Port Hueneme. Another thing that we've started this year, super excited about, is our Learn to Swim program in conjunction with Oxnard Union High School District and Hueneme High School. We got the first session going. We're really excited about this, and it's truly a need in our community. There's so many kids that don't know how to swim, and it's vital to teach kids how to swim, not only for their safety, but for their development as well. So thank you to the Oxnard Union High School District and Hueneme High School for partnering with us, and we look forward to great success there. Last week, we had the tree lighting ceremony. I think we all had a really good time. It was amazing how many people showed up. Everybody was cheerful, happy, and it's always a good time when we light that Christmas tree, and it's a beautiful tree. And coming up, we're gonna have our Cops for Tots program. I think it's gonna be at the Community Center on December 11th. I think we gave out 1,000 toys last year in Parking Lot C, and it was a very fun time for all. And we're looking forward to doing this again. Like I said, on December 11th, I believe. I hope I'm correct. And then tomorrow is our senior holiday luncheon. We're looking forward to that. We didn't have it last year, so tomorrow is it's really a breakout for us, and we're excited that we're being able to do that. And hopefully we'll all be there tomorrow serving our seniors and having a great time. Port Hueneme volunteers, thus far in 2021, volunteers have delivered over 21,000 meals to disabled seniors. Another great program that we have ongoing here in the city of Port Hueneme. It's just invaluable when somebody has a medical issue and we bring them meals, and we've been doing this for quite some time, and hats off to all those that volunteer for that. And we have our Vibrant Sizzling Senior Exercise Program. You can see Mayor Pro Tem Rollins right there. He's a participant. So many people participate in this. It's amazing. I didn't realize how many people are there, and I was able to go and take some pictures. And it's been going on for well over 15 years, I believe. Might even be 20. I don't know. Maybe someone could help me out on that. But if you know somebody that could benefit from moving and stretching and exercising, send them down to the community center Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I believe it starts at 9. We also have had our movies in the parks, and I think we've had in 3 parks now: Boulker, Bubbling Springs, and the beach park. So that's something we're really proud of, and we're going to continue to work on that and bring movies to our residents and alike. Hueneme Beach Festival. My disclaimer here is don't accept an invitation to go in the dunk tank. It hurts. And other than that, we had a wonderful time at our beach festival, and we're looking forward to next year. And I really want to thank Chief Salinas for all the work he did. And we just look forward to spending time with people and having fun at the beach. It's another photo of it. I mean, it was quite the event. I know most of us were there. I think Laura was ill, wasn't able to attend, sorry. But this is what you missed. It was really, really fun. Nighttime beach festival was amazing. The art, chalk art, amazing. We forget how much of it was there, and I couldn't have a picture of all of them, but they're all incredible, amazing. Here's a aerial shot from a drone. I continue doing the Hueneme Beach cleanup, and we're really, really impressed with the amount of people that come out on a weekly basis. Just want to give you a little bit of exposure to that. We get kids from Camarillo, from Ventura, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks. We've even had a group come from West Hills. We got the Sea Cadets, Junior ROTC participates. The Police Explorers have participated. So it's really gratifying to know that so many of us could come together and just do a little bit each week, and it's making a big difference. And we also feel like other people are beginning to get involved and do a little bit, like groups like Coastal Keepers have developed, and we see volunteer groups all over the city of Oxnard. And there's no better way to contribute to your community by just doing a little bit of community service, just a little bit each week goes a long way. And so we're going to continue to do that. Another thing that we successfully completed here is Habitat for Humanity. I know each and one of us are very proud of this. You can see the progress that's being made. It's coming along, it's beautiful. And not quite a year ago, we were standing on dirt, and now you can see that the buildings are coming together. Also, our inspection program of sidewalk and tripping hazards is underway, and it's vibrant. And you'll notice warnings of tripping signs. You'll see our staff out there identifying, removing, and correcting, and they're really getting momentum behind, and we're really proud of that. And we're trying to make all our sidewalks clear from hazards. And for that, we're very appreciative to the work that our Public Works employees are doing. How did pickleball get to Hueneme, Rich?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know if Rich Rollins is the one responsible for bringing pickleball here, but it was invented in 1965 in Washington State. 3 dads invented it. Basics of pickleball: it's fun, it can be played indoor, outdoor, it's easy, and it's for doubles and singles. Life is short, play pickleball. And I was surprised to learn today there is no crying in pickleball. And it's quite amazing to see how many participants are playing pickleball on a daily basis. It's mind-boggling. I'm able to see the participants because it's really close to my house. But I can tell you that it's good. Our parks are bubbling with excitement, with people exercising, and it's wonderful. So the place they call home, this is the place they call home. I love taking pictures. I love sharing pictures. And we live in an amazing place, and we are truly blessed to live here. And I took this picture one morning, and I don't know how that happened, but it just seems to wrap this up very nicely. So we are all blessed to live here, and we love living in the city of Port Hueneme. And that concludes my State of the Union, State of the City. So thank you all very much. Now we are going to move to council recognition. And let me close my screen down so you don't have to look at this anymore. There you go. And City Manager Connors will take over.
Thank you, Mayor. I much appreciate the opportunity to do a couple of things that I know that you and Mayor Pro Tem protested. But if you would, please find the recognition gift that you were both issued earlier today. And
yeah, I told Rick to go easy, and so I got a box. You see this? No, it's not an empty box. Here's what I got, and I really appreciate it. It wasn't necessary, but thank you so much.
So yeah, and like I said, both Mayor Pro Tem protested, but becoming elected, not to mention becoming a mayor and a Mayor Pro Tem, is a very special achievement and very deserving of recognition. A year ago today, almost, I think, we started out with the largest COVID surge in the history of this pandemic. And we finished the year as Mayor Gama being the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem Rollins being the Mayor Pro Tem, with a distribution of over $5.2 million in American Rescue Plan and very different things to help defend against future COVID pandemics, and also to help those that were most impacted by this virus. During that entire year, with those two bookends as exclamation points, you both have displayed an impressive passion for service in your community, especially, and I say especially, for our youth and for our seniors. So on behalf of your city staff and a grateful community, thank you for your exemplary service as mayor and Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Rollins does as well.
Yeah, no, I actually want to thank our city staff for providing that support to make us look good. You know, I think you guys have done a good job about providing the information that, you know, the community wants in a timely manner so that we can deal effectively with their concerns. So thank you.
Yeah, and I too want to thank everybody in the city that works with us, because without them, nothing could be possible. And we are in a really good spot financially right now, and it's going to be our job to keep that success and keep that financial viability in place. And we do know there's some challenges coming up, but I think all of us together will be able to work hard to maintain the successes we have had. And I look forward to the future. And thank you for this recognition. And we're quite honored to have a staff and a police department that works hard to realize the objectives of this council. And so we're really thankful for that.
I just want to hope that I didn't receive this clock because maybe to keep me on time or not, but but nonetheless, thank you very much.
All right, I see that it works too. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, are there any public comments at this time? I don't see any. And if there are, we'll look for you. And is that your hand up, Mr. Fitzgerald? Lisa Fitzgerald? Yes. Would you like to make a public comment, sir?
Yes, regarding the Port Hueneme Police Department, I believe they need 2 more officers. I believe that they need 2 motorcycle officers to help with the speeding. And they do such a terrific job, as all of you do. And I really want to thank you for all your hard work. And but I got to stand with the police as well. And they need, to me, 2 motorcycle officers driving around, slowing down some of this traffic. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't see any other hands raised for public comment. So we are now going to move on to council reorganization. You know, it's we're all elected officials, and I think we all deserve a chance to be the mayor of this city. And I think it forces us to cooperate with each other, being that we don't elect a mayor. It's been quite the experience this last year. It went by really fast, and I just want to thank everybody for being patient with me, and I tried to do the best I can, and hopefully I performed admirably in your eyes. So at this time, we are going to nominate our next mayor. Are there any public comments? I don't see any. I will open the floor for nominations at this time.
I would like to nominate, well, I don't know if I have to say Mayor Pro Tem Rich Rollins, but I'd like to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Rich Rollins for mayor.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May we have a roll call vote?
Point of order, please.
Yes.
Can I ask, Mr. Mayor, if we could please follow the Rosenberg Rule of Order and have a discussion on the nomination? I think traditionally we just jump right into voting and we don't have a chance to really discuss the nomination. And I'd like to use this opportunity to talk about the significance of the role of the mayor responsibilities, and make some references to some of the documents that we utilize in the performance of this job as city council and as mayor. I think it's a good opportunity to educate our residents and for us to reaffirm our role when we sit at the head of the dais.
Okay, continue.
So, like I said, we really discussed the role of the mayor and the mayor pro tem. So I think it's just worth taking some time out to briefly just share with the public and share with our residents the sources of material and the policies and procedures that we follow in the performance of our job. And in addition to receiving ethics training, we also participate in the California League of Cities training through our city attorney. And we are held by law to follow the Political Reform Act. I don't have a lot, I'm not going to go into details of that act, but that is one law that we must follow. We also must follow the Brown Act, which supports transparency and openness with our voting public. We also follow the the Rosenberg Rules of Order, which outline the conduct of meetings, how we run our meetings. Then we have a City Council Policy and Procedures Manual, that outlines how we should behave both during meetings and during the public. And there are just a few things in here that I thought were worth mentioning. For instance, one of the fundamental tenets of city governance is recognizing that we act as a body and not as individuals. And so when we're speaking out there to other organizations, we need to make sure that we either represent the policies of the council, or we let people know that these are our personal opinions and that you're not representing the council or the city. The mayor does serve in an official ceremonial head of the city. He's the city's spokesperson, presiding over meetings, and both the mayor and the mayor pro tem have some administrative and other ceremonial things that they perform over the course of the year. I won't go over all the tenets of the policy and procedures manual. I just want to make sure that everybody takes the policy and procedure manual seriously, that you review the principles and standards so that we all, if something happens to one of the council members or mayor does something wrong, it's a reflection on all of us. So it's really important for us to pay attention to these documents. The last one I wanted just to share was advocacy, and that it kind of goes back to my earlier point that when council members represent official policies or positions of the council, they do it to the best of their ability when designated as delegates for this purpose. However, when presenting their individual opinions and positions, council members shall explicitly state they do not represent the opinion of the entire council. So we have to be really careful about how we present ourselves out there in public. So with that, I will go ahead and support the motion and I don't know if the other council members want to say anything about their expectations from the mayor or anything, areas of interest that they'd like to share.
Councilmember Perez, would you like to join in the discussion?
No, I'm good. That was very well said, Ms. Hernandez. So thank you for reminding us of all that.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez.
I just want to say that I think that you guys did a really good job this year. And the reason I nominated Rich Rollins is because I think that he'd make a great mayor and he did a really good job of representing us as mayor pro tem.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Rollins, do you have anything to add to the discussion?
Well, I guess, no, I want to thank Councilman Hernandez for her thoughts. I will take them to heart.
Thank you. And I would just like to say that I think it's really important for each one of us as council members, if you're going to venture out in social media and make a statement, a bold statement, and it's not true, and if it's inaccurate, it reflects on all of us. So yes, it's very important to be factual with any public information you disseminate out there, because it does, if one of us is out there saying something that's 100% inaccurate, then it's a poor reflection on all of us. So I think it's really important for all of us to watch how and what we say out in the social media area. So thank you for reminding us of that responsibility. Madam Clerk, I think we've had a motion in a second. Councilmember Martinez made the motion and it was seconded by Councilmember Perez. May we have a roll call vote on the nomination of Richard Rollins for mayor?
Yes, sir. Councilmember Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Perez?
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gama? Mayor Gama, I guess you're still mayor. That's what, like.
Yeah, I know. I get 30 more seconds, and I am going to say yes, of course. And at this point in time, I would like to congratulate Mayor Rich Rollins, and I would also like to turn the meeting over to him. And
I don't think he
congratulations.
voted though. Did he vote?
I did not vote. However, I will now vote yes.
Thank you. And the meeting is now yours. And I'm going to leave you at item number 4.
Okay, before I move on, I had a little bit of words that I wanted to say. Thank you to the City Council for having faith in me to serve as mayor for the next year. I have learned a lot in the past few years to better understand the goals and the styles of our fellow council persons. This will help guide me in my new duties as mayor. As you have seen, our council has a wide variety of views on some subjects, but this is a healthy thing. I do know that each of our council, despite their different approaches, have the best interest of our residents at heart. While we represent you, we need your input. I follow social media, but I feel the best way to truly understand your concerns are to meet directly with you. I have provided staff with my home number that you can contact me directly if you have concerns. With the help of the staff and my fellow councilmen, I hope to run meetings that are efficient but informative, stay on topic, but provide good discussion to make good decisions. Over the past few years, our council, with the help of the staff and the public, have developed far-reaching strategic plans to develop revenue sources, improve services and amenities, provide better outreach, and to improve our parks. As we move forward in the coming year, my goal and our goal, I hope, is to implement many of these goals to improve the quality of life in our friendly city by the sea. Together, we can make 2022 a year that we can look back and be proud of what we accomplished. And at that point, I would like to now move to our consent agenda. The mayor, let's see, okay. I'm going to read the titles of the items of the consent.
Excuse me, Mayor. City
Mayor
Manager?
Pro Tem.
Yes. Oh.
We still have to do item number 4, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jumped ahead. They told me to move right into that. I'm sorry. Okay, so with that in, okay. Are there any public comments right now? We're in the item for nomination for the mayor pro tem. Are there any public comments at this point in time? So that well, I will now open the floor for nominations. I nominate.
I have my hand up too.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll relinquish to you.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Bobby Martinez for Mayor Pro Tem.
I would second it.
Okay. I will relinquish to Councilman Gama for that.
I second Bobby's nomination for Mayor Pro Tem.
Can we have a roll call vote at this, or no, can we have discussion at this point? Any councilman have discussion points to make at this point in time?
Okay, I do. Thank you for the opportunity just to discuss this. You know, there's really no hard and fast rules for how we select our mayor or how we select our mayor pro tem. But if you go into the policy manual, you see that the nominations should really, and our decisions should really be based on merit. And I've watched Councilman Martinez over the year just kind of be this have a calming effect, he approaches things in a very fair and equitable way when it comes to making decisions. And I think, in the past, we may have selected him because he got the most votes, but I think there's way more to Mr. Martinez than just that. He brings with him a very, he's not only a numbers person, which is really helpful to have that on the council, but he is just, he provides balance on the city council, which I've enjoyed. So that's the reason I'd like to see him serve as mayor pro tem.
Do we have any other comments at this point in time? Okay, I would like to reinforce what Councilman Hernandez said. I think he's been a breath of fresh air. He puts things well into perspective. He is serious about what his views are, but at the same time, he handles it with a nice sense of humor, which I think is well received sometimes. So I would concur with Councilman Hernandez at this point in time. So with that, without that, may I have a motion? We have a motion now. May I have a motion, I guess, for the for electing a mayor pro tem? I don't think we've done that yet.
Yes, sir. I have a motion and a second, but I'd be happy to do a roll call vote if you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gama?
Yes.
Councilmember Perez?
Yes.
I believe motion has technically passed, but Mayor Rollins?
Yes.
And newly appointed Mayor Pro Tem Martinez?
Yes, I would be happy to serve as Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that passes. Okay. Then
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations, Bobby. Really appreciate you being with us.
Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, would you like to say a word or two?
Yes, I'm extremely thankful for this opportunity. This past year has been very educational, and I think as a council, we have done an amazing job. I know we're only going to continue to do an even better job, and I look forward to serving our community as Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing and hopefully only do an even better job. So I hope that you guys have high expectations of myself. And I just want to thank you all for believing in me. Thank you, Gama, Laura, Rich, Misty. I love you guys. You know, we make a great team, and I hope we can make some more positive change. Thank you.
Okay, then. So now my role gets in full force. We have the consent calendar agenda. And I will read the titles of the item of the consent calendar prior to the motion. And here they go. Number 5, approve the minutes of the City Council special meeting of November 15th, 2021, and the City Council regular meeting of November 15th, 2021. Number 6 of the consent calendar, receive and file the finance cash disbursement from November 9th, 2021 through November 29th, 2021. Number 7, adoption of the resolution authorizing the application of the per capita program grant funds. Are there any public comments to any of these consent agenda items at this time? Hearing none, do we have any comments from our city council? That being the case, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
We have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Hernandez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez
Yes.
and Mayor Rollins.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So now we are going to move on to public hearings. Number 8 on our agenda, the plan development / conditional use permit number PHCU-893, Pizza Man Dan's ABC type 47 alcohol license and expansion at the location of 307 East Port Hueneme Road. The hearing is now open at, it appears to be 7:45. Madam Clerk, do any members of the council have any conflicts of interest to disclose at this time? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, do you have a proof of publication as required by law? Do we have a file of the reports and exhibits?
Yes, sir, I do.
Will staff please present the report? I think it's going to be Tony Stewart, our Community Development Director.
That's correct. Good evening, Mayor. Mayor Rollins, congratulations, and good evening, council, audience, staff. As you mentioned, this is a conditional use permit for Pizza Man Dan's, which would be a type 47 alcohol license and an expansion of their existing restaurant. Next slide, please. So the applicant's request is twofold. The first is to upgrade their California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control, or ABC license, from a type 41, which is to serve beer and wine only, to a type 47, which would allow them to serve or have full alcohol service. A conditional use permit is required per our municipal code for businesses in the C1 or general commercial zone who want a type 47 license. Next slide, please. Now, keep in mind that the conditional use permit only applies basically to the alcohol license. However, the applicant is also requesting to expand into the adjacent suite located at 305 East Port Hueneme Road to expand and remodel their dining room, kitchen, to add a bar and a live entertainment area. And the reason why this is being brought all at once is because without the type 47 license, to have the bar and the live entertainment area would be kind of a moot point. The applicant is proposing in conjunction with this to increase their hours from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Currently Monday through Thursday, and 11 a.m. to midnight on Friday and Saturday, to 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. Their operation would be similar to their fairly recent Pizza Man Dan's up on Victoria Avenue in Oxnard, which was the former Pirates, just north of Woolley. And next slide, please. However, the applicant isn't just proposing to add the bar and expand their alcohol service. They are proposing a complete security plan. As such, they're proposing to add security officers at a ratio of 1 to 25 patrons. This would be from 5 p.m. to 30 minutes after closing daily. They'll be adding cameras inside and outside the restaurant to survey the parking lot, for instance. They'll be adding sound deadening materials as part of their tenant improvements to keep the sound of the live entertainment within the subject suites. Any patrons that enter or re-enter the facility after 8 p.m. would be subject to a dress code as well as security checks. And they would also check in at the bar entrance, which is separate from the regular restaurant entrance. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, the location is 307 East Port Hueneme Road, which is within the Beachport Center, basically across the street from City Hall. It is surrounded to the north, east, and west by other commercial uses within the center, and by East Port Hueneme Road to the south with the Holiday Inn beyond that. The zoning is general commercial, which is, or C1. And the parking study was prepared because the addition of the expanded restaurant use would require additional parking, but it was determined that the parking on the site is sufficient to meet this expanded use. Next slide, please. And just a couple of graphics here. So here's the aerial showing the Pizza Man Dan's within the Beach Sports Center there in the red square. Next slide. This is a site plan showing the overall Beachport Center with the Pizza Man Dan's pretty much front and center there towards the bottom. And the next slide, please. And this is a large site plan showing the two suites. The smaller one on the left side with hatching would be the additional area at 305, and then the larger hatched area is the existing Pizza Man Dan's, which would be renovated as well, with the bar being over or proposed over on the rightmost side. Next slide, please. And this shows you a floor plan then of what the build out would be, with the new suite having expanded dining area as well as kitchen and new restroom. The expanded dining area will have larger tables for large parties, which they don't currently have. The middle area basically gets remodeled a little bit, but stays mostly the kitchen area. And then the right portion will be the additional dining area, but they'll also have the bar there, like I said, along the rightmost side with a live entertainment area as well. Next slide, please. And just a quick shot of the building elevations, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And next slide, please. So with regard to fiscal impact, this would be the only business, believe it or not now, in the city with full bar and live entertainment. So therefore, it gives the city's residents and visitors an option to get this experience here in the city rather than traveling elsewhere, say to Oxnard. The applicant does expect to maintain their existing clientele, but they want to attract additional clientele with the bar expansion and the live entertainment, thus increasing overall revenues generated by the city, which would benefit the city of Port Hueneme as well. Next slide, please. And finally, with regard to CEQA, this is exempt because it is basically a tenant improvement with no expansion beyond the existing building. And finally, the next slide. And so with regard to this, I should also note before I get into the recommendation that as part of the approval process, the application was vetted out by the city's design review committee or development review committee, which consists of myself, Yvonne Nava, our programs manager, Chief Salinas, as well as a representative of the fire department. And after looking at this, the committee unanimously voted to move this project forward to you this evening. However, conditions of approval are attached both by Chief Salinas and by the fire department, and those are in the resolution with this project. And so with regard to that, it is recommended that the City Council open the public hearing and take testimonial and documentary evidence, close the hearing, consider the evidence, adopt the resolution of the City Council granting approval of CUP PHCU 893, or take such additional related action as may be desirable. And the applicant is here as well this evening to answer any questions, but otherwise, if you have any, I'm available at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any public comments regarding this item at this point? Okay, then I'm going to, as I see the hands raised, so I'm going to go as the hands raised and get comments. So the first one is Councilman Hernandez. You have some comments or questions?
Well, yeah, a little bit of both. Thank you, Tony, Mr. Stewart, for your presentation. And thank you, Mr. Collier, for being here tonight. I'm really excited to see what you're planning for your establishment. We do need some nighttime entertainment and music in town. I think it's wonderful. It's a wonderful idea. My question is, what time are your hours changing? Will you be open till 2 a.m. in the morning? I didn't hear anything on hours.
As I actually did mention, but I'm going along pretty quickly. Yes, the hours would be changed from 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday closing and midnight on Friday and Saturday to 2 p.m. 2 a.m. Every day of the week.
Okay. All right. Thank you. There they
Okay.
are. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see on my, okay, I do see on my screen now. Councilman Gama.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. Nice to see you, Dan. Appreciate this investment in our city. I think it's long overdue. And my biggest question is, we need karaoke. Are you going to have karaoke?
Absolutely.
And what days will you be proposing karaoke?
We do karaoke Wednesday and Sunday in Oxnard, so we would pick different days than that, but we haven't sorted that out
Excellent.
yet.
And will Rick Rock be making an appearance in the city of Port Hueneme? Because that's another one of my demands. Karaoke and Rick Rock.
He's one of my favorites, so certainly he's already agreed to do so.
Okay, since we're on a roll, what about Free Love Project? Can we get them over here every now and then?
Ooh. You know what? I'll write that down now.
I know that you have a really good lineup going on over there at Victoria, and I love going over there, and I love to see what you've done. And oh, my other question, I thought I wasn't paying attention, but are you assuming more square footage in your current location here on Hueneme Road?
Yes, about 1,400 more square feet.
And where would that come from? The backside of your operation, or is it going to be towards the medical
Towards the
office?
port.
Towards the port.
Towards the port.
So are they going to move Tony out
There's a
of there?
vacant space. There's a vacant space between us and I believe it used to be a dental office.
Oh, that's right. Okay, excellent. So Tony Suleiman's safe, and you're going to take over the. Okay, that sounds great. Congratulations. Well, you haven't been approved yet, but I really like what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing you here more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our other councilmen, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
I'll make a comment. I think this is something that we've needed for a long time, and I'm glad to see this happening in Hueneme.
Okay. Alrighty, I have only a couple of comments. First of all, I think if it fits into our council's goals to increase tourism, there'll be one more reason for people to come and visit our community. I'm not sure if it's considered a full bar, but I do know across the way Antonio's has some form of a bar too. Am I correct, Mr. Stewart?
We do have a couple of full bars here in the city, but we don't have any that combine live entertainment. So this would be the first modern bar with live entertainment here in the city.
Great. I had one question regarding control. What kind of sound precautions are you making so that, say, at 2 a.m, when would the music itself stop? And when would you, are you taking any kind of precautions regarding so that, we wouldn't get the community upset that music is blasting away at 2 a.m?
Mayor, we would end the music at 1 o'clock, continue to have the bar open past that. So you start with the last call around that time. The sound protection is going to be on the glass side. So imagine that you're inside, the music would be facing the back of the restaurant, and the front glass would be covered with sound protection. The goal here, of course, is like anything else. I mean, there are people literally, 100 yards across the street, and we certainly do not want to wake them up at 1 o'clock in the morning. So we'll design it so that you will not hear the music standing on the other side of the street.
Okay. And then it's just are you changing the food menu, or will it be still an Italian pizza theme or
the exact same food menu? We did add a few items that we'll continue with, but we added those because of the bar in Oxnard, and they've been successful. So it'll be a very similar menu.
Okay. Does staff have any? I think everybody has made some mention here. Does staff have any further comments?
No, we don't at this time.
Okay.
Mayor Rollins, could I just say that I'm
Yes.
excited to see this next step. I'm a big fan of your pizza, and this is really good news for me.
Yes, and I know that they've consistently donated to the senior holiday raffle over the past 5 to 6 years when I've gone there and approached them. So that's very good community service. If there are no further discussions, we will close the public hearing, the time being 8 o'clock. We have before us a recommendation. City Clerk, can you read the exact resolution and ordinance titles?
I can, sir. Give me just one moment.
Thank you.
So the exact resolution title would be for the City Council of the City of Port Hueneme to grant approval of conditional use permit PHCU 893 for Pizza Man Dan's.
Okay. May I have a motion at this time?
I move to approve.
I will second that.
Madam Clerk, will we please take a roll call vote at this time?
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Yes.
and Mayor Rollins.
Yes, as long as I can be the first karaoke person. Okay, then. So we can pass unanimously. Good luck with your new venture. I hope it's successful.
Thank you all.
Okay. Now we are going to move on to business items. And at this point, we're going to have a presentation by City Manager Connors on the FY 2000 to 225 Strategic Plan Annual Review and the 2022 Council Priorities. So go for it, Manager Connors.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. You should have the lead slide for strategic plan in your screens. Can you confirm that's up, please?
I see it.
Okay, thank you. So we have two parts. The first part is to review and renew the 5-year strategic plan. I'll go through the elements of that, again, refresh everybody's memory. And then the second part of it is going to be to coalesce around a council set of priorities for the second year of the strategic plan, calendar year 2022. So in October of last year, we approved the city's strategic plan almost after a year of a variety of different engagements, a variety of different focus groups, and a variety of different community surveys. From that, we developed a mission statement, and we also had guiding principles, all of which are inspirational as well as aspirational. And I wanted to make sure that these particular ones are still favored by City Council. These are also the ones that the staff use to develop plans and priorities within the council's goals and objectives. So we'll talk about the executive summary really quick, and then I'll go through the elements of the strategic plan. The big thing here is the basic the framework by which this plan was developed. I'll go through some of the survey details when I look at each one of the the 10-year mission pillars, and I'll also highlight a couple of things that were fairly significant and important to both council as well as the community and some of our strategic partners. The plan is really developed into three different pieces. The first one is the vision, which the guiding principles, which we talked about, the strategic pillars, and the objectives or strategic initiatives that support each one of those pillars. So from the 10-year vision, we have 5 major pillars. Now, each one of these pillars inform every component of decision-making within the city, performance evaluations for directors and managers, and also the allocation of resources. These pillars have already been useful in developing the 2-year budget. They influence the additional of staff, budgeting priorities, and they are also part of the process by which we identify a 5-year capital improvement plan. So the first one is what we call optimal levels of service. And you see on all of our staff reports, every event or agenda item on the council's agendas include a comment relative to the strategic plan or strategic initiative. For this particular one, it's really about delivering services to the city in a way that is cost-friendly, but also customer-centric and focused. When we did the focus groups, which included 14 specific partners from various backgrounds, we have educators, we have military business, we have the military, we have the port, we have realtors, we have HOA representatives, we have businessmen, and we have cannabis bars, restaurants, et cetera, as part of this focus group. In that focus group, the most important components of this particular pillar was operational excellence, doing what we do as well and as good as we possibly can. From there, the next most important element within this pillar was our outreach and engagement. And then from there, service levels, which basically identifies all the things that we do as a city in terms of delivering a variety of different services. We understand exactly what is expected from that particular service, and we fund and resource the service level that delivers those services. And then the last one are community programs. These are programs dedicated to improving the awareness and the pride associated with the community towards their city, where they live, where they do business, and their neighbors and neighborhoods. The second pillar, fiscal and economic excellence. This is really devoted to economic development, fiscal excellence, and both the management of finance and accounting at the city level, but also how we look at our investments and our reserves, and how we deploy those funds towards the best interests of the city and the communities in the city. From the focus group, key performance indicators was the #1 item. Key performance indicators are comprehensive throughout the city. Everything that we do should be a measure of performance, a data that we can collect, and that we can demonstrate through the collection of that data and the reporting that data exactly where we are, whether we're doing it good, whether we're doing it great, whether we're doing it poorly, and we need to apply more emphasis and more effort towards it. The second one was physical development, infrastructure, from either rehab on existing buildings or the investment in new capital programs. And the last one in this list is city rebranding. What things can we do in terms of re-imaging our city, asserting the assets, the resources, and amenities associated with the city in a rebranding effort to bring more business, more interest, and more pride in our community. And by the way, each one of these pillars is listed in priority sequence based on community engagement. And so every one of these pillars received at least a 75% favorability rate from the community, approximately 168 people who participate in these surveys. And these pillars are given to you in priority sequence. In this particular pillar, The focus group thought that opportunities for local business was the most important thing that we can do in terms of supporting our community through this pillar. The second one was invest in new technologies that are inviting the businesses that want to come and participate in this local economy, and that need things that we need to provide them as a city in order to make their investment in doing business here rewarding and profitable for them. And then the last part of this was leveraging existing relationships, existing infrastructure to accommodate the best practices we have available to us to assert the benefit of all those things coming together. This was identified as, from the focus group, the most important one. You can see that at 100%, the most important thing was to upgrade facilities. This safe, secure, and beautiful really encompassed many different things, from emergency management and law enforcement and public safety, but also our beach amenities, our parks amenities, our facilities improvements, et cetera. As you can see, the number 2 was the increase in emergency preparedness, including the review and upgrade of emergency management plan, but also exercising that, and also including the community, so they are their best first responders when we do have an emergency or crisis. And then the last thing, but also very important, and it's been talked multiple times during this council meeting tonight, was beach preservation, preserving the single asset that is identified as probably the gemstone of our resources, and it requires sand and beach erosion prevention in order to sustain it as it currently exists and make it better. And the last pillar is our strategic partners, things that we can't accomplish without others by our side, or taking a lead in a lot of cases. And so in order to build out everything that is achievable in the previous pillars, we really need great partnerships at the right time with the right effort and emphasis in order to achieve many things that we put an emphasis on in our priorities and goals each year. Obviously, many of these things are unachievable without all the things, the guidance and principles that we lean on in order for decision guidance, and as we reprioritize each year. But it also requires an ethics in government, where we're governing at the highest level to support our citizens and our community in giving them back and being great stewards of their investment in this city. I'll talk about accountability really quick. Accountability to this strategic plan, and each year and each phase of this plan really requires what we're doing today and what we'll do in the future. This is a working document. It needs to be refreshed and reinvested in every year, and remind our citizens and also each other where the end is envisioned. In order to do that, we have to track, and we have to move it forward, and we have to grow this. And one of the ways to do this is to maintain a semblance of a grading in order to show where we've been and where we're going and where we are. And so that really has an emphasis on data, which we have begun in earnest to collect in every phase of city government. And so that we can see where we're doing well or not so well, and also where we need help or maybe outside support. We have to measure this stuff, and we haven't done really a great job of it, but we're putting a lot of emphasis on it. And this year is poised to be that data year where we put it the right level of emphasis in it. And a lot of things are coming together to allow us to do that. And so with data and measuring that performance, we can start to build our status and hold each other accountable for where we are and the next steps in this evolution of our strategic plan. This is a conception of what it would look like, where we have all of the pillars and all the elements that we would roll up so that we can report out via the dashboard of where we are in our strategic plan evolution in achieving that vision and that mission that we introduced earlier in this brief. We've already identified somewhere around 200 plus areas where we could potentially measure performance and then report out our performance against those metrics as well as targets. We are still a fairly long way, but we've taken some significant steps so that we can align what we do every day towards strategic outcomes. So before I move forward, one of the first actions is to potentially renew or make modifications to the strategic plan. And so I will return it back to Mayor, where there may be the potential for a motion to do those things.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to wait to see the screen from our City Council to see if they have some comments first. Can I go back?
My hand up, sir.
Yes, Councilman Gama.
Yes, thank you for that report. Earlier in the state of the city, I mentioned those 4 pieces of property, or actually 3 pieces of property, the corner of Victoria and Channel Islands, Mary/Tradewinds Market, and of course the Dario Pini Hotel. And what I know all of us are frustrated with is in each of those 3 properties, I don't see any improvement at all. In fact, on the corner of Victoria and Channel Islands, my understanding is the owner has an approved project. And so every year or so, he'll put a trailer out there, plow the field, and that keeps his permit alive and well. So in terms of operational excellence, what can we do to move this property owner off that business plan? Because it's only serving him and it's not serving our interest. Same question at the Mary's Tradewin Market. Nearly half of that shopping center has been empty for probably 6 or 7 years. What can we do differently to change the blight, the rundown, the just poor image it creates in our city? And then, of course, with the Dario Pini Motel, I mean, 7 years empty. And I know that we had heard about this affordable housing, but what can we do differently to move these people along to give us more amenities for our city that are productive and producing revenue for us, and at the same time fulfilling a need? How do we change from just going another year looking at an empty Mary's Market?
Councilmember Gama, although that is probably, that subject is probably more appropriate for the focus for 2022. There are some limitations in terms of what we can do in our economic development community planning. We have restrictions, and we're not the owners of those properties. So there are limitations, but there are some things we can do. And you'll see in the focus discussion that one of the draft focuses address that.
Hold on, I got one more question. I'm sorry. You mentioned beach erosion, that we want to maintain our beach as it is. However, that's a little bit in conflict with the letter that we sent to Julia Brownley's office, because we've accumulated a deficit from being shorted in the amount of sand. So I just wanted to make that observation that we sent a letter to Julia Brownley's office asking to increase the budget so that we could not only to make up a little bit of, or if not all of that deficit, but also at least maintain the level of sand that we're supposed to be doing annually to mimic Mother Nature. I just thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gama. Other comments from our council? Questions?
Yes, Mayor Rollins, in terms of Councilmember Gama's comment, is there a way that we can impose another tax on them in terms of them keeping it vacant? I guess this is a comment for city staff, or a question for city staff, or Kevin.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, we cannot tax individual citizens differently than others. That would be an equal protection violation and violate the Constitution. Notwithstanding, as it pertains to private properties within the city, we have no development authority at all over them. Private property owners are free to use their properties however they see fit, so long as they maintain conformity with our municipal code and state laws on the subjects of the properties. If it's a residential property, it would be state housing law, things of that nature. As long as there are no ongoing code enforcement issues with those properties and there's nothing that gives the city any regulatory authority over it, the property owners are free to do whatever they choose with those properties as long as they remain in compliance with our laws. There's nothing we can do.
Thank you, City Attorney Kevin Spaulding, for your answer. Appreciate that.
Councilman Perez or Councilman Hernandez, do you have any thoughts at this point in time?
No, I thank Manager Connors for his presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's recommending for 2022.
Councilman Perez?
No, I do not have anything. That was a thorough presentation, and I also look forward to it.
Okay, my few comments are, I remember when we developed those pillars, I think those are sound foundation as we move forward. I guess the proof a lot of times is in the details. And so the measurable objectives for each of those particular areas, how do you suggest that the council provides specific, I know that the staff will have developed measurable objectives for each of these pillars. How best do we put in like our specific measurable objectives for some of these areas? I know that I heard some earlier, like some specific things, but how would we make sure that they get put into this pudding?
Well, when we get to the phase where we can easily and automatically collect data, there are a variety of different investments that we're making through our budget. One of them is going to be our enterprise system that manages assets, it manages personnel, and it manages our investments in accounting data, so that we can automatically load data that supports some of these performance metrics. The next part of that, though, is where council would come in, and that is to approve targets associated with that measurement. And so, for example, in law enforcement, and let's say we wanted to reduce crime by 3%, that would be our target, a target that is achievable, and also it's something we can measure. And so, and I'll show you when I go back to my slide deck here, that we are doing, in some areas, we are collecting data and we are presenting that data. And you've probably seen it a lot in COVID slides and a variety of different other elements. So, but we're not doing it across every function and every service in the city. And so when we start to perfect that, the staff will provide a recommended target list, and then council will give us feedback on whether that's that's a good target or overzealous or not where we need to be. And so we'll also use this priority system that council will provide input to staff in a couple of moments. And that will also set targets associated with how important it is for council to get this thing done this year. So those are a couple of ways where council will apply targets in terms of measurable objectives in our areas of performance that we can measure.
So at this time, should we put in, should we suggest specific objectives, or is this not the time to do that? And I'll give you some basic examples that I know they fit into the various different pillars and the objectives within those pillars, but they're more specific that I know perhaps myself and other councilmen wanted to see a specific thing. I'll give you an example, like improve the city website. That would probably fall into the number one of pillar one, but how specific should we provide a recommendation to you on those areas? Or another example might be implementation of a thorough maintenance schedule for the various different new facilities that we are providing, like a specific. That may be too detailed for this, but I'm sure like the council would want some specific things like developing, I know that Councilman Martin is developing a youth sports program. Is that too specific to our conversation tonight? Or is that something that we should put? Because I know it fits into these categories, but it may be too detailed.
Yeah, I think for the purposes of creating a focused list, what you're suggesting, it fits into some of the draft categories that I'll present here shortly, but giving me a very specific thing may not be appropriate at this time. We want to stay at a higher level, I think, for this purposes. And then when we start to put plans and efforts and resources applied to those focus areas, then we can put it in the specifics, and that's where council will be able to participate.
Would they be able to provide you information directly that you would bring back to the council as a whole, or would that be something that we would set aside a time to talk about specific programs or services or whatever?
I think we're getting into a level of detail that's not necessarily what this event agenda is really designed for. We want kind of operational level of focus areas, and then staff will develop the plans around that based on the priorities that council gives us relative to this group of focus areas.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments at this time to add?
Yes, I have my hand up, sir.
Yes, Councilman Gama.
Yeah, I understand everything you just said, but I want staff and the city manager to understand my frustration, which probably is my colleagues' frustration, and certainly is going to be some of our residents' frustration. One of our pillars is strategic partnerships. We aim to build strong, collaborative, mutually beneficial partnerships. So it depresses me to hear there's nothing we could do about Mary's Tradewinds Market other than write them up when they got graffiti that stays on the wall for more than 24 hours. And so again, I'm trying to bring a real city problem and attach it to one of these pillars and try to figure out how can we move our strategic partnerships to build a strong, collaborative, mutually beneficial relationship. I mean, it's so frustrating as a council member when someone comes to me and says, what are you doing about Tradewinds Market? What's going on with the hotel there that's been empty for 7 years? And then we hear well, there's nothing we could do, just, you know. So again, I'm just trying to understand, how can we make this work for us? How can we try to push and make for a strong strategic partnership, say, with the owners of that empty supermarket that used to be there? So, I mean, I'm just trying to share what I hear is a level of frustration out there that they look towards us. What are you doing? You know, and it's like, well, you know, I don't think it helps any of us to say, well, there's nothing we could do. So I'm just trying to tie it to the strategic partnership and understand, you know, how we could move these into something productive for both of us.
Okay. Ultimately, it's the devil is in the details. Okay.
Well, I mean, what can you really do with somebody's private property if they don't want to do anything with it? How far are we expected to go and force them to do something? I mean, it's private property. So I guess we would be trying to find something that owner that might benefit him, that would also benefit us. But if he's not interested, what? We can't, like I said, we can't force him if he's not interested in doing anything.
I mean, clearly we can't, but again, I'm looking for, there's got to be a way, there's got to be something we could try. There's got to be, I just don't think, you know, throwing in the towel, and I don't know, it's something we have to be a little city doing big things and somehow, some way, find a way to move in a positive direction.
I agree. I think we shouldn't just throw in the towel. I think there is something that we can do. I think we can maybe reach out to some of the other cities. There has to be something that we can do, because this isn't something that the community wants to tolerate, and it's not fair for us. And I know that it's private property, but just because it's private property doesn't mean that it's not located in the city. So.
Excuse me, council members, to the extent we are going to devolve into a conversation regarding 3 properties, I believe that would be a Brown Act violation given the agenda item description.
Okay. So, City Attorney Spalding, what's the best way to have, I can sense the frustration, at least in a couple councilmen, and like, what is the best way to handle this? Perhaps not now, but in another venue. Like if there's as I said, it comes down to the details. If there was this particular item that there's a big concern about, and we wanted to make that or any other thing a priority, how would we do that in the best possible manner? I'm looking for.
Mayor Rollins, the appropriate mechanism would be to request an agenda item at the agenda item request section at the end of the meetings. The danger, however, in seeking to impose government action against private property owners when they are not in violation of the law simply because certain members of the city do not appreciate what that person is doing with their property will result in a due process violation, will result in constitutional claims against the city. Government cannot interfere with private property rights without due process of law. It is a fundamental right in our Constitution. It is dangerous to discuss and could potentially expose the city to litigation depending on how far they would like to go.
So, Mr. City Attorney, I'm looking at the strategic partnership pillar. And the objective is to build a strong, collaborative, mutually beneficial partnership with our stakeholders that improve the quality of life for our residents. So, and trying to move positive economic development, I mean, how is that all those things you said it might be? I mean, I thought we are on point here. We're talking about the strategic pillar about building a strong, collaborative, mutually beneficial partnership for our stakeholders that improve the quality of life for our residents. I mean, if CVS were to move in that thing, that would improve the quality of life for our residents. I mean, if we could, anyways, I think you understand the frustration.
I do, and I can appreciate it. The problem is, however, is The city can approach the property owner and say, hey, we think it would be best if CVS moved in here, or we think it would be best if you developed it this way. If the property owner says no, that's the end of it. There is nothing we can do without a violation of the law. Any government action triggers constitutional rights and due process protections. The only thing left would be if the city is really bent on taking any appropriate action. If we interfere with a private property owner's rights, it would be a taking. We would have to engage in the power of eminent domain, which means we would have to take for public purpose and give reasonable compensation under the 5th and 14th Amendments. It ends up being a much broader conversation than that. And private property owners have significant rights afforded to them under the Constitution of the United States and the state of California.
Okay, I don't think anyone's advocating that we're going to go eminent domain and take their property. I think what I'm trying to advocate is, can we reach out? Can we have a conversation? Can we encourage? Can we say to them, look, I don't understand your business plan, but this building has been empty for 7 years and it's not producing any income from you, and it's not producing any positive environment for our residents to benefit from. I mean, and that's kind of what I'm suggesting is like, what can we do to try and encourage these people to do something positive with their property?
I think we can absolutely have that conversation with the property owner. And I believe that conversation has been had with the respective property owners. With respect to Dario Pini and the Surfside Motel issue, council approximately 2 months ago approved development entitlements and gave Dario Pini 2 years to reform that property. That property is also subject to active litigation. And so that property, it probably should not be discussed as just sitting there doing nothing. Things have happened. Things have happened recently. The remaining 2 properties, economic development consultants, city staff could reach out, could try to suggest ways to help with development. But ultimately, if the property owner says no, that's the end of it.
So just to kind of, because I know we're not going to come up with a solution tonight. I think staff and city manager kind of have heard the message that we want to try to get this thing developed to the benefit of the community. And so any legal strategies or communication that you can do to go into the same will be well received. And we would hope that you could report back to us at one point in time your progress under the legal laws to be able to do that. Is that a fair thing to say?
That is a fair thing to say. I can certainly report back to you what options the city has. However, any direction or further discussion on this will absolutely be a Brown Act violation. I'm sure the property owners at these respective properties would have loved the opportunity to comment before the council tonight if they had known this was being discussed.
Oh, so we could put this on a future agenda item.
I think that's the most appropriate way to do it. That way the property owners would have the right to be in front of this council to address each of you.
Great. So unless there's any further comments on this, I'd like to read, the recommendation. It says to review, discuss, and update the strategic plan and provide the 2022 priority guidance. Do we have any other guidance that we want to provide in any other area?
Mayor, excuse me, I still have to go through a draft goals. So this is part 1. This is the strategic plan still relevant, useful, and provides the right guidance according to council. And so, so the first phase is to just renew the strategic plan or make modifications. So it would be appropriate this time for a motion to renew the strategic plan or amend it with specific corrections to it.
I would like to suggest that first off, it get updated and that the current council be pictured in it. If we're going to renew this strategic plan, that's the first thing I think needs to happen. And if I make a motion to approve this, we're just basically approving the same version of this with updated photos, and that's that?
Yes, sir. So the motion then would be to renew with modifications to the pictures in the presentation with newer council members.
Okay. Did you make a motion, Councilman Gama?
I did not. I have one other question on page 27, aligned key performance indicators. I noticed there's several blue dots missing. Is there significance to that or no?
I'm not sure what your reference is.
Page 27, aligned key performance indicators.
Are you talking about the presentation I gave? Because
Yes.
I don't have, the presentation I'm using does not have 27 slides. So can you describe a little more fully?
No, I'm looking at it right here. I think this is the presentation that you just gave us.
Oh, okay. Why it doesn't have blue dots?
You right here, there's.
Yeah. Yep, okay, I got it. Each dot represents a pillar that was represented by those groupings of performance metrics. So it doesn't have a strategic pillar. There is no measurements associated with it.
So no other comments? Councilman Gama, do you have any other comments?
I don't know if I'm ready to make a motion to extend this again. I mean, I guess it'd be extended for another year. Is that what we're doing here?
Yes, it would extend it until we review annually, which would be next year.
Do we have any other councilmen who would like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to extend the strategic plan into 2022.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Can we have a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes, and with the stipulation that the pictures get updated of the current council members serving.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Yes.
and Mayor Rollins.
Yes, with the amendment that Councilman Gama added to that. Okay. Is there more to the conversation? City Manager Connors?
Yes, now part two is focus areas for 2022. 2021, you should have a slide titled 2021 base year.
Yes.
So as it was envisioned in the strategic plan, the first year was really to make assessments and so that we could develop plans of actions to move forward. So we call this, probably more within the staff as a base year to do those things. The studies and assessments that we accomplished were the general plan, the Parks Master Plan, IT Master Plan, and then any other plan that existed, we did reviews and updates. That informed the 2022-2023 budget, and it also is informing our capital program as well. Simultaneously, we had 103 capital projects that were in the budget. We reviewed all of those for alignment to the strategic plan. At this stage, those $13 million in projects are about 90% complete. And we're at this stage right now, based on the investment in planning, master planning assessments. We have a draft 5-year capital improvement plan that staff will be back at the earliest opportunity, probably within the next month or two. Within the strategic plan, there was also departmental goals and detailed action plans. The 31 multi-year goals were about 30 multi-year goals. We're about 30% complete with that. And then we're about 90% complete of the detailed action plans for the base year. So that brings us into 2022. And have a little bit of a tool that we can go through in order to get council input on strategic focus areas for 2022. These things, these items on this draft list were reviewed and included by staff department heads. And we looked at things that were achievable or at least actionable for 2022. And we did a priority scoring like we've done in previous exercise with the ARPA plan as well as the Parks Master Plan, with the 1 being the lowest and 10 being the most important priority for staff to focus on. These are general focus areas, and these are not specific solutions. From this set of council prioritization, we will then work on plans, tasks, and actions that we can use in order to bring these particular focus areas to a conclusion that the council would be satisfied with. So with that, I can go back to this spreadsheet when we can go through each one of these focus areas. And you'll see that many of these things have been mentioned recently in the strategic plan review, but also in several elements over the past minutes of our council meeting.
Okay. Questions from council? Raise.
Yes, I do. My hand's up if I may, Mayor Marlins.
Yes, Councilman Gama.
So I think myself has been frustrated with the difficulty with the GoGov, Go Hueneme app. I mean, I use it as much as I can, and I've found ways to work around what I find to be, anyways. So my question is, where would GoGov improvement fall into in this metrics? And I guess it would be optimization of online services, information, public outreach, and customer service. But we've been patiently waiting to simplify that, make it more user-friendly, and we haven't been able to get there yet. So my question is, taking that one item, and it seems to fall into this category, so how would we make that a priority? That's probably even not the right way to say it, but I think you understand what I'm saying.
So we can go each council member, but you're right. This would fall under number one of strategic pillar one, optimization of online services, information, public outreach, and customer service, and it may fit in a couple other ones to a degree as well. So making that a 10 would be the highest priority that staff would apply to getting this thing fixed.
Just real briefly, Mr. Connors, it looks like everything on this list is a fairly high priority. So how do you make one higher than the other when we have a lot of 10s and 9s?
Well, I mean, you can certainly do that. Obviously, we're going to have to pick and choose. We have a limitation on staff, and we have a limitation on resources and time. And so, we'll have to still pick and choose. Obviously, this is for 2022, so this is the near term. So there should be really nothing below a 6 in terms of prioritization. Simply because it's a medium priority in the near term based on the criteria that we used. So at a minimum, we should see nothing less than 6 on this list. And if it is below that, then it would probably be pushed to 2023. Okay. So these items are things where staff felt that they should be in that higher echelon prioritization for 2022, and they're achievable things that we can do.
So if the city council says, let's say there's one here that's a 7 or an 8, and one of our councilmen says, I really think this should be a 10. Do we vote on each change, or is it just general guidance to staff to make a
I'll defer to council, but we can ask each council member that they can provide their image and it would calculate an average. Or we can do a council vote on each one of them and put in that number. So an example would be just to go 8, 9, 10, oops, I'm sorry, 10, abstain, 9, and then you have your prioritization.
Okay.
Or we can just vote as a council and just go through the list.
Is there a preference to the council as to how we would want to approach this? Everybody's.
Yeah, I think we might be here all night if we try to do our ratings here. Was that the intent, was to give you our ratings tonight, Mr. Connors? Or were we going to go away and give our ratings and then you'd average them out and come back to council?
Those options are both available. We can continue the meeting and allow council to score these things. We can do it now. We can vote on each one as it pleases council, really.
Could I make a recommendation that we each of us take this back home and make any kind of recommendations if there's a change, and then we can bring that back to Mr. Connors and you can make some adjustments if necessary?
I'll second.
Okay.
If I may, I'm still having trouble trying to visualize how improving Go Hueneme fits into this, because if we all go through and put a rating, again, I'm looking for action. I want to see improvement. I want to see Go Hueneme improve so that my mother could feel comfortable reporting things. And so, I mean,
Would Go Hueneme fit in as number 1, optimization of online services, information, public outreach, customer service?
Only if we tie it to it. I mean, because
Mayor, I'm sorry, Councilmember Gama, I can break it out like this if and that's why that line was blank. If you want to break something out, but to put an emphasis on it, we can do that too.
I'm just trying to get to specifics, like just as a crude example, but installing a net to volleyball poles. I mean, it's very specific. We want it done, get it done. So in terms of Go Hueneme, I would like to see it made simpler, and I don't understand how we could tie it to this optimization of online services. But anyways, I digress.
Mr. Connors, is there a way that we can come back to you at another time as to because I brought it up earlier, these are very good broad-based goals and objectives, but then it gets the devil in the details. Maybe specifically we want things that are probably very minute, but they would definitely fit into these larger categories, but we would want to make sure that they're not lost in the shuffle. So how would we best come back with, say, specific things that would fit into these categories? And tonight's probably not the night, because it could, as Councilman Hernandez meant, we could spend hours on that.
Well, these items that have been listed represent policy level focus areas. It's where council guidance is expected. Going into details or identifying specific things are not really what this exercise is about. Although those things will fold into many of these, if not one in particular. But the object here is to provide policy guidance for staff to focus on. And then we'll work on those specific things that you've identified.
I mean, I would move that as a general overall policy, these are all good things. And I just look for the opportunity to, provide input at a later date as to like specific measurable objectives and these things, like, improve Go Hueneme. That's great. That would fit into number one, but and I'm sure other councilmen will have specific things that they would want to include in there that already fit into those categories. So can we make a motion to approve these? Can we make a motion that we improve these, that we maintain these pillars because they're sound, and then at a later date provide you input so that maybe you can have, like under number one, council puts in ABC that would like to put that in, and then that gets brought back to the council, to the general council. You know what I mean? Maybe not.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know why we're having such difficulty with this, because we've done this before. It's just a prioritization. We give him our numbers, and then he can, Mr. Connors can average them out and come back to us, and then we see where they all land. And that gives staff direction on what to focus on.
Agreed. I think the reason why we're having difficulty is because we have things that have been languishing for some time, GoGov. And I'll give another example: talent acquisition, management, and retention, competitive compensation, training, etc. I've been hearing for quite some time that there's a compensation study out there coming. And so I think we all agree that, I think we all would agree with staff that, yeah, that's a 10. But where are we at on this compensation study? Because that's gonna give us guidance.
Well, the purpose of this exercise is not to give specific updates on any particular initiative or action within the framework of these focus areas. This is just to inform staff on the council priorities, so that when we have to make resource decisions, allocation decisions, or time commitments, we are doing it in an order that fits council's prioritization.
Okay, so let's take each section one by one. So we have strategic pillar one. Is there any council movement in any of those categories to be higher or lower?
What?
Okay, we have strategic pillar one. And We're going to vote on this now that we were deciding to do. I thought we had a motion to come back.
I think we had a motion to come back with, well, we can come back with our priorities in those areas, whether we think they should be changed and come back at another time, or we can give some guidance maybe by section if there's something that stands out that we want to change.
City Clerk, do we have a motion? Have we had a motion or a motion and a second by any chance?
Yes.
We do have a motion and a second to take the priorities list home and return with them.
Okay, so with that in mind, there's a motion and a second to bring this, to take this home, to look at it, and then to come back with any changes that individual council members have, and then as a body we can vote to adjust it.
I don't think we're changing anything, though. We're just indicating our rankings, right?
Priorities,
yes, we're
right.
ranking our priorities in each one of these items.
City Manager,
Correct.
perhaps you can clarify. I think that the mayor's interpreting the listing of 1 through 5 as a established priority order. I don't believe that was your intent, so I just wanted to.
No, Mr. Peretz, no, that I looked at the STF. I'm not sure what that means, but STF, I'm assuming those are the priorities for each of those things. Like number 1, we had a 9. Number 2, we had an 8. Number 3, we had a 10 on that first pillar.
That was what was provided by staff directly to council. The list I'm using, and it was just a reference for what staff considered the priorities, and it's just a reference. So
Staff come back, and then if they have council can come back, and if we have some different prioritization, we can come back to you on that.
Yeah, we can meet independently, so we don't have a Brown Act violation. We can go through each council member's priorities and finesse any of the language in any of these items. Or there's a potential to add one that hasn't been accommodated or identified quite yet.
Okay, so I think that's the best way to do it right now.
Sorry, I just have one more question to clarify one. So on the first strategic pillar, number 6, was that intentionally left blank because it does have a staff rating of 10?
It was intentionally left blank pending any council contribution to this focus effort.
Okay, so, okay.
Okay. So the motion would be to take this list and have the council come review it and then independently give their input to city manager. And then from that, he will do a revised list that he would bring it back that we would vote on next time.
That makes sense to me, Mayor.
Okay.
I just have one question. How soon do you want these turned in to you, Mr. Connors? Do you have a deadline that you'd like us to submit this back to you?
The only, really the only time pressure is when I do performance plans for directors. I use this as my guide for what I have them prioritize. So those are annual at the end of December. So that would be only time pressure. There's no real time pressure other than that. Okay. So I want to make sure council has the opportunity to review, work with me, and understand what this process is before they commit to any prioritization. So there really is no time pressure other than that.
I had a question then. Could I give a possible suggestion that council review this and give their feedback to city manager within the next week so that perhaps we could vote on this at the next council meeting?
That's from staff's perspective, that's very executable. I just pending council inputs.
So can I make a motion to do that? Or I make a motion to do that?
I believe there's already a motion and a second.
Yeah, but I think we were providing detail, I think. No?
Well, I think we're just completing this form with our rankings.
Okay. And we're going to come back the next time with that, right? We're going to be providing feedback to.
Yes, the city manager will come back to us, as I understand it, with the averages
so
of all of our rankings and then present it to us.
So the only amendment I would make to that would be that we have a specific timeline when we're going to give him back that information. And I suggested a week, but can I suggest that we keep the motion and the second, but we make an amendment that we give that information back to the city manager within a week so that
sure. I can do that. Is anybody else?
And at the next council meeting, we can get this done with.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that? So let's, Madam Clerk, can we make a vote that we will get back to the city manager with our priorities, and that we will do that within a week so that at the next council meeting, he can report back to us as to what the council priorities were.
Yes, sir. I can do a roll call vote if that's your amended motion.
Okay, great.
Okay. Mayor Rollins?
Yes.
Councilmember Perez?
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. So now we move on to item number 10, which is the renewal and reconsideration of the remote meetings pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E. Presentation will be given by our city attorney, Mr. Spalding.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins, Honorable Council. This should seem a bit old hat to each of you by now. On March 4th, 2020, Governor Newsom issued the proclamation of emergency relating to COVID-19. As a result, we got the stay-at-home orders, went through the lockdown, and we were all able to continue to have remote meetings due to social distancing requirements. On October 4th, 2021, at the beginning of this year, AB 361 was passed, which amended Section 54953 of the Government Code and set forth requirements to continue to have remote meetings without complying with the telephonic meeting requirements that are otherwise found in the Brown Act. For example, one of those requirements for telephonic meetings would allow members of the public to show up at each of your houses to observe you participating in these meetings despite the COVID risks. 54953 subdivision E allows the city to do away with some of those requirements for the purposes of social distancing when specific findings have been made by the council. One of those, the findings are two-pronged that this council has made in the past. One is that the state of emergency continues, or that there is a proclaimed state of emergency in California. With respect to that element of the analysis, the governor's proclamation of March 4th, 2020 remains in effect and was reaffirmed on November 10th, 2021 in Executive Order N2121. In addition, the next requirement would be that a state or local official continues to impose or recommend measures to promote social distancing. On September 21st, 2021, the Ventura County Public Health Officer sent each jurisdiction a letter indicating that he was in fact recommending social distancing measures, and the city council has opted for remote meetings based on those two findings ever since, though those findings need to be made every 30 days in an effort to continue remote meetings. And that's all.
So, do we have any conversation on this by any of the councilmen? Okay, I'm sorry.
I would just like to suggest that with Omicron out there and the numbers of cases rising, that we continue for another 30 days on having remote meetings.
Okay.
That's a motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any conversation before we make a vote?
I thought our numbers for the county were looking really good. I didn't know they were going up, so I'm not sure that that's accurate. But I don't have.
I read it in today's COVID update.
Okay, are there any other comments? So, with that in mind, it is recommended that the city council, let's see, if I was to read this, it is recommended the city council review information presented, engage in conversation. Okay, so can we have a motion that we continue this, these meetings in through Zoom?
I think we did, and I think we have a second.
Okay, great. So can we have a vote on that, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama. There you go. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Martinez
Yes.
and Mayor Rollins.
Yes.
Motion passes on a 4-1 vote.
Okay. At this point in time, any comments from our city manager?
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. I just got a couple of quick updates. As I think it's been broadcast a little bit by our State of the City by former Mayor Agama, the Learn to Swim program is active, and kids are learning how to swim, and older folks are learning how to swim too. This past week, we had what will become a quarterly Measure U oversight meeting with our oversight committee. We reviewed with HDL our Measure U revenue. Probably the biggest takeaway that although we had planned at about $2.5 million, it was closer to $3.5 million. The one thing we did in our budgeting process this past year was to assign budget expenses against our general fund for Measure U specific things, so we could report out on what Measure U is being spent on for the city, so that we can share and be transparent of exactly how those funds are going to be used according to the resolution that we adopted in 2018. We have Cops for Tots on the 18th. We had a big shopping event on this past Saturday where our good friends at Oxnard Walmart hosted us for about 2 hours. We had about $25,000, and we bought toys for a couple hours during that time frame. We're also doing other toy drives or drop-off spots in the lobby at both the police end as well as the City Hall admin end. And then internal to the city, we are having an active competition on which between 3 different groups can bring in the most toys. Big event tomorrow will be our senior luncheon at 10 o'clock. We've got a variety of different celebrities, city celebrities, serving our wonderful seniors tomorrow. It'll be my first event. I'm told by Sharon from the pavilion that dressing up is encouraged. The Santa Float starts on the 8th. The actual routes and times are on the city webpage under the Community Services and Recreation. We have an event on the 8th. We have an event on the 9th. We have an event on the 13th and the 14th. And that concludes my updates. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any comments on the manager's comments? I just had one. The Learn to Swim program, I've heard that we have 29 participants in that right now. And so it was a very good success, and I hope that it continues on throughout the year. Okay. At this point in time, we're going to talk about council members' reports and comments. And I'm going to start off with Councilman Martinez.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry. Mayor Pro Tem.
Would anybody like to go first?
Okay, I can, Councilman Perez.
Yes, so I had one board meeting with the EDC, and it was pretty much just a business meeting to discuss their financial stability and how they fared over COVID, which was positive, and they're doing pretty well. They gave an update as to there's potential grants coming out again from the county. And I just wanted to let any person who has a small business know that EDC is a big help for any small business. They have many programs and educational webinars that are offered to business owners to help you grow, learn how to run QuickBooks, how to keep your business financial steady. They're a great resource, and they have loans, financial tips, and they offer general help in how to be financial stable and maintain your business. So I recommend anybody who has a small business to get connected with them.
Okay. Councilman Hernandez. I'm giving Councilman Martinez a little bit extra time.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. Let's see, since our last meeting, we had the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance meeting, which I missed. unfortunately, but I'll be following up with the minutes later and share with you what was discussed. I also participated in the Southern California Edison's Governmental Advisory Panel, known as GAP. Edison's coming out with a lot of different products, doing some different things to ease the pain that people felt like on Thanksgiving where their power got turned off. They're looking to improve their services so that doesn't happen as often. RDP 21, I attended the RDP 21 strategic planning meeting and the general meeting. The strategic planning meeting was fairly brief. We were done within an hour. We had Susie Watkins, who gave a presentation on the status of the dredging money and said that it is likely, and it's so far looking really good, that we will get the full $20 million that we need to get the 2.4 million cubic yards of sand in our next cycle. So everything's sounding really positive, and pleased to hear that. The general meeting was interesting. We had a presentation from the U.S. Coast Guard office here at Point Mugu. They were sharing with them the various pieces of equipment that they operate, some of their missions, and how they work with some of the other federal agencies out there. VRSD, we're still doing our strategic plan. We're developing our goals and objectives for 2022. That's the Ventura Regional Sanitation District. And I did have a conference call with Surfrider Foundation, has a follow-up to the discussion or the plans to do an oil spill response webinar. And the idea is to learn how Fish and Game and OSPR will be interfacing with local emergency responders during an oil spill and how they will be handling volunteers who wish to help clean our beaches up should we have an oil spill. And so I've spoken to the city manager about it, and he's going to task our PIO, our emergency services person, Scott Madelon, to work and staff this webinar, which will be planned for February or March. And I think that's all I have. Oh, I did attend a League of Women Voters meeting on Saturday. It was our holiday meeting, and I don't know if you can see this, but David Marin was there, and they issued the 2021 State of the Region report. It's very informative, a lot of good information, a lot of ways to measure objectives in here. There's a lot of data. So if any of you care to look at it, you can download it online. And I think David Marin will be asking to deliver a presentation to our city council soon. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hernandez. Councilman Gama.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. I attended the Animal Services meeting, and they are moving forward with trying to plan a new facility. There's a lot of discussion as to where. Some of us believe we'd like it to be in a more visible spot, but the airport is the most reasonable, and there's excess land out there. So they're going to start a campaign to raise funds, and unfortunately our meeting was cut short with a tragic event that occurred on the grounds of the Animal Services. So so we'll recontinue that discussion at the next meeting, I imagine. But I'm hopeful that we could get a aggressive fundraising campaign, and that we can move forward in developing a modern state-of-the-art animal services facility for the entire county. I think it's long overdue, and they do a wonderful job out there, and they work with outdated facility and techniques, and it's time to move forward. And I mistakenly got my days mixed up, and I missed the Beacon meeting, and I apologize for that. However, we have accomplished getting our detailed letter out to Julia Brownlee's office, And it is quite remarkable. And I was kind of thinking about this, and to my knowledge, this is the first time we have ever requested an increase in funding. And what we've been able to document is that from 1960 to the 1990s, the bypass rate was sufficient to sustain Hueneme Beach. However, from the 90s to the present, there's been a buildup of a deficit of the amount of sand moved, and it's a 30 million cubic yard deficit of sand that has accumulated. So our beach is disappearing. And most recently, we've noticed that the Alaska Memorial, the last portion of the sidewalk is actually sliding away. It's moved about 1.5 inches, and it's not anchored to the upper sidewalk with rebar, and it's not anchored to the circular portion around the monument. And so literally the whole slab appears to be sliding away because the sand level has fallen dramatically over the last 5 years. And I could say that relatively confidently because I'm out there every week, and we see the changes that are occurring. So we really need to get the sand issue straightened out. A resident sent me a proposed plan or idea to develop the beach promenade from the end of the pier in a walkway that goes both towards Ormond Beach and to the lighthouse, and establish a Chumash Heritage Walk that would detail the native historical relevance and significance of Hueneme Beach and to the port of Hueneme. A lot of people feel that our history and heritage and the Chumash were here long before the port of Hueneme, and some of us feel that we're losing sight of the fact that Hueneme was derived from the Chumash word Huenema. So I don't know where we start. Would we develop a study group? Maybe it's something we could give to the Citizens Advisory Commission. But I think it's a really great idea to establish a Chumash Heritage Walk from the pier all the way up to the lighthouse, and it could have a lot of significant, really interesting details that make Hueneme Beach the jewel that it is, tying it to its historical relevance. I walked through the Flower Fest, and if you all recall, I was the no vote on a 4-to-1 vote, and my concern was that the odor control would be very ineffective. And I can report to you that it smelled like tacos outside, which I was like impressed. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the taco trucks, the food trucks, that is the smell. That was the smell that I was smelling, and those tacos smelled really good. However, when you're walking by the tents, they were quite full of people, and there was a lot of smoke in there, and I did go in and look at it, and so the only escaping odor was when you'd open and someone would walk in or come out. But for the most part, I must admit I was very surprised at how well that they did and how well those charcoal filters work. I looked at the systems that they had in place, and they appeared to work just fine. It was a good event. It looked, everyone was well behaved. And for that, I'm very grateful. The other comment I would have, and this is an observation I had yesterday, is that, there was a big blow up on social media about parking the day after Thanksgiving and ticketing. And I said many times before, I don't mind our parking enforcement being aggressive with residents as long as they're just as aggressive with guests. And what I noticed at this festival yesterday, there was no parking enforcement there. And I counted in the morning, I counted like 14, 15 cars, walking down the street, not in the parking lot, that didn't have a parking pass. So I just wanted to make that comment that, we need to be just as aggressive with non-residents as we are with residents. And because if you live here in Hueneme, 2 minutes after 9 on street sweeping day, whether it's a day after Thanksgiving or not, you'll get a ticket. And so I just wanted to make mention of that. That's it. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor Rollins. We're going to have the REACH meeting this Wednesday, and I've been planning a basketball three-point competition for about a month or two. I finally got the forms that I'm going to be handing out so that if you're under 18 and you want to participate, you can get them signed by your parents. If you're over 18 or older, you can sign them yourself. And I plan on having like a youth competition and an adult competition. I was planning for Thursday, but it looks like it's going to be raining, and that's what I wanted to check. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not going to be doing, like, say, a monthly calendar. Instead, I'm planning on doing it like maybe like a week before. And I'm guessing it'll be Friday from 3 to 5 or from 3 to 4:30, depending on how the sun is. But basketball three-point competition at Miranda Park. And I'll be announcing it tomorrow.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez, will you be having a senior competition?
Seniors will be 18 and over.
Okay. I had a few comments. I attended the Ventura County Transportation Commission meeting of things of interest to the city of Port Hueneme. They're seeking currently a new vendor to operate the Fillmore Santa Paula train. For those of you who might remember, they used to do a lot of community holiday themed family trips on that train, and they're looking to get, they're interviewing vendors to kind of move in that direction. So that's a positive thing. Also at that meeting, the port provided a presentation. Some of the key points that I thought were kind of interesting is that they also are in negotiations with the train that runs from east to west in Port Hueneme. And one of the points they made is if they utilize the train more often, that cuts down considerably the truck traffic, which was mentioned earlier today, that, I think there's some kind of a factor of, 6 to 1, that if they use if they use trains, that reduces truck population by like 6-fold. So it's something to look into as far as we move forward on that. They've also installed air pollution monitors at Haycock School, to kind of measure, I guess, the pollution that may be coming from the port, even though the port has done many steps as far as to be more green as far as plugging in electric outlets, but they're still being conscious of that point. I also attended the Flower Fest twice, both on Saturday and Sunday. Things that I noticed, the participants were well behaved. One of the things I did note was that the music was perhaps a little bit loud on Sunday, and perhaps they can redirect where the music, perhaps it goes out into the beach as opposed to the residents. But as I pulled in, I noticed that the music, but overall, I thought it was a very good event. I would like perhaps in the future to see if staff could, maybe this goes under agenda items, but I'd like to see staff provide some kind of report of what the increased parking revenue and the increased revenue that came from it, from sales and stuff like that. But overall, I think it was a well-received event. It was very popular. finally, this is kind of a little bit of a sensitive thing, but I just felt I needed to say it. I've recently received a lot of communication from residents regarding the Sharkey Memorial. We all know that Mr. Sharkey gave over 20 years of service to the community. That's basically a quarter of somebody's lifetime. As with all elected officials, we make decisions that are not universally accepted, but I know that he made them with the best interest in our residents. I voted against the memorial primarily because I felt that a $5,000 donation by Reach, I did not feel that Reach with limited funds should be putting that money towards a memorial for any political figure. I think it's money better spent for things that it's currently funding, like Senior Luncheon, Toys for Tots, Real Guppies, the Hueneme Beach Festival. That being said, I encourage local citizens to bring back a proposal to the advisory board and to the council who admired that would be funded by those who admire the work of Mayor Sharkey and can honor him in a proper way. So with that, we move into future agenda items. Does anybody have a future agenda item that they would want to bring to the council right now to vote on?
I do.
Yes, Councilman Hernandez. Oh,
Council member.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Yeah, that works. Okay.
We gotta get the names right now.
That's okay. It's your first meeting. I think I brought this up at the last meeting. I can't recall, but I would like to hear a report on the redistricting maps. I know that the 2 maps are going to be presented before the Board of Supervisors tomorrow morning. And it looks like we'll be we'll have a different supervisor. It appears that Carmen Ramirez might be our supervisor and Kelly Long will no longer be our area representative. So if we could get an update on the outcome of that vote and how it's going to impact our city, if any, I'd like to see that on the agenda.
I would say.
Thank you.
Vote.
Would that be retroactive or would that be at the next? I mean, how do they do that?
I think what the report might be for.
Okay.
That's how it is. So I would second that we have some kind of report on the redistricting and how it might affect us and when it might affect us. Vote. Council, can we have a vote?
Madam Clerk.
Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Yes.
Mayor Rollins,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes. Did my camera stop working? But you can hear me, right?
I can hear, but we don't see your face.
Councilmember Perez,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we now see your voice. Any other agenda items that the council wants to propose at this point? Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
Yes, Mayor Rollins, I like to motion for to have an open conversation on the remaining vacant properties in our city, specifically Mary's Market and the corner property down by Victoria and Channel Islands. It's just a conversation, just for us to talk, maybe get the public to speak.
Could I make amendment also to that land on Pleasant Valley that I think is vacant, that city land too?
Oh, true.
I will second that motion.
Property owners for that discussion.
Yeah, I think we can still talk about it.
And perhaps we can have, Mr. Connors, could we have some kind of a discussion where we have the property owners or inviting them?
I'm not saying that is not achievable. There's no requirement for them to participate though.
But we could make that open to them.
Yeah, invite them.
Yeah. Okay, is there we have a second from from Councilman Gama. Can we have a vote on that, Madam Clerk?
Hold on just a sec. Can we make sure that the motion, it does in fact invite those properties owners to come have a conversation with us and tell us, you know, why they're good for our community or whatever. So just want to make sure that we attach an invitation to any and all property owners that we'll be discussing.
So we've included that amendment to Mr. Martinez, Mayor Pro Tem Martinez's initial motion. So can we have a vote on that, Madam Clerk?
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez. Sorry, ma'am, you are on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Perez
No.
and Mayor Rollins.
Yes.
Motion passes on a 4-1 vote.
Okay. Any other agenda items to be proposed? Okay, I just have one. Over the past few years, there's been a lot of conversation by the public regarding our rules and regulations, everything from beach parking, street sweeping policies, parking in alleyways. And I was wondering if I would like to make a motion that we have some kind of a community forum on parking, street sweeping, and parking in alleys, which would allow the staff to make a presentation as to what those rules are and perhaps why they're in effect, and to allow the community to provide some input as to what they think about it, to guide us in if we're gonna, whether we change or not would be immaterial, but at least to give us information both from the staff perspective and from the community perspective.
I second that.
Madam Clerk, can we have a vote?
Mayor Rollins,
Yes.
Councilmember Gama,
Yes.
Councilmember Hernandez.
I think I'm going to vote no, because I think staff should probably decide the best way to transmit that information. It might not be suitable for a presentation or a community meeting. Maybe there's another way to get that information out. So no.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Perez
I agree with that, so no.
and Mayor Pro Tem Martinez.
May I get a clarification on the motion, please?
The motion would be to have as an agenda item, a public forum where staff could present policies and procedures regarding beach parking, street sweeping, and parking in alleyways, and to allow the community to provide input and to ask questions regarding that. I feel that,
yes.
you know, over the, okay.
Motion passes on a 3-2 vote.
Okay. So at this point in time, unless there's any other agenda items, I move to adjourn this meeting. So thank you all for providing input and making my first mayoral meeting that I run smoothly and helping me out. Thank you all.
Good job,
Have a
Mayor
good night.
Rollins. Thank you, everyone.